Good day, everyone, and we are the Group 2 reporters in this subject, environmental management. Before we proceed to the discussion, let me introduce the reporters. To start with, my name is Lovely May T. Florito, and to my co-reporters are Miss Junalyn Estuesta, Miss Irene Galila, Miss Ellen Joy Calvo, and Mr. Charles Camuta. And here are the table of contents: agriculture type, impact of agriculture, causes and impact of soil erosion, managing soil erosion, and sustainable agriculture. First, let us define agriculture. Agriculture is one of the most widespread activities in the world, but it is not uniform thought. There are a number of ways to classify agriculture, and some of the major criteria which can be adopted include scale, type of crop, livestock combination, intensity, means of distribution of farm produce, and level of mechanization.
Types of agriculture. Agriculture not only gives riches to a nation but the only riches she can call her own. Nomadic herding, livestock ranching, shifting cultivation, intensive subsistence farming, commercial plantations, commercial grain farming.
Livestock and grain farming, subsistence crop and stock farming, dairy farming, and specialized horticulture. Nomadic herding. Nomadic herding is based upon the rearing of animals on natural pastures. This practice is performed by the people of semi-arid and arid regions. These people stay on the move with their animals in search of natural pastures for their livestock to graze. The type of animals reared differ from one region to the another. Northern Africa, parts of Arabia, and parts of Northern Eurasia are the typical regions of this type of farming. This is a subsistence type of activity. Livestock ranching. Under the system of farming, the major emphasis is laid on rearing animals. Unlike nomadic herding, the farmers live a settled life. This type of farming has developed on a commercial basis in areas of the world where large plots of land are available for animal grazing, such as the low rainfall areas of North America, South America, and Australia. Animals are reared mainly for meat and wool, and they are kept on large-scale farms called ranches. Shifting cultivation. This type of farming is most often adopted in the tropics. Under this system, the land is obtained by clearing forest areas using a slash and burn technique. The land is then cultivated for a few years or until the fertility declines or the land is overtaken by the weeds and other native flora. At this point, farmers moved on to clear another area of the forest. This is a subsistence type of farming that is almost always done manually. This type of agriculture is usually adopted by the people living in tropical regions like Southeast Asia, with a major emphasis is on grain crops. This type of farming is declining due to pressure by environmentalists. Intensive subsistence farming with the rice dominant. Intensive subsistence farming is practiced in tropical regions that have high populations and receive a large amount of precipitation. Rice is the dominant crop when it comes to this type of farming, as it can employ and feed a large number of people per unit of area. The Southeast Asian region is where most of this type of farming is done. This type of farming requires the use of both manual and animal power, and farmers try to enhance the productivity per unit of area with the use of manures. Intensive subsistence farming without rice dominant. This is a variant of the aforementioned type of farming designed for areas where the amount of rainfall is not very high. These regions grow grain crops other than rice, such as wheat and millets. Besides, the comparatively less wet areas of Asia, Northern Africa, and the parts of Middle East utilize this type of farming. It is also commonly practiced in parts of Southern Africa and Central America. Commercial plantations, although practiced over a rather small area, this type of farming is quite important in terms of its commercial value. The major products of this type of farming are tropical crops such as tea, coffee, rubber, and palm oil. This type of farming has developed in parts of Asia, Africa, and Latin America, where the colonial influence of Europeans has remained. Most of the plantations were developed to provide tropical crops to the European markets. This is a highly capital-intensive type of farming, and most of the crops are tree crops. Commercial grain farming. This type of farming is a response to farm mechanization, and it's the major type of farming in the areas with low rainfall and population. These crops are prone to the vagaries of weather and droughts, and monoculture of wheat is the general practice. Prairies, steppes, and temperate grasslands of South America and Australia are the main areas for this type of farming. Livestock and grain farming. This type of agriculture is commonly known as mixed farming and originated in the humid areas of the middle latitudes, except Asia. Its development is closely related to the market facilities, and it is a typically European type of farming. Great Britain and New Zealand are examples of areas where this type of farming is common practice. Subsistence crop and stock farming. In this type of agriculture, practically nothing is sold off the farm. This type of farming has been common in areas of middle latitudes with lower fertility of soils, or in areas with rough terrain. It has declined significantly after the collectivization of farming in Russia, which was one of the major regions where this was practiced. Dairy farming. This type of farming also had its origin in Europe, from where it spread to other areas. Close proximity to the market and temperate climate are the two favorable factors which have been responsible for the development of this type of farming. Countries like Denmark and Sweden have witnessed the maximum development of this type of farming. And the last one is specialized horticulture. This type of farming has developed to take advantage of a large demand for horticulture products, especially in areas of large-scale urbanization and high-density population. It has been most successful when used for vineyard cultivation in areas of France, northern Hungary, and the Swiss Lakes regions. Although Wetlesy's agricultural classification is quite elaborate, the regionalization and the basis of this classification is not something permanent, due to changing market demands and developing agricultural technology. A number of changes have come into the agricultural pattern of the world since Wetlesy's study. Large demands for fruits and vegetables in the urban areas have resulted in modified land use in many parts of the world, and such factors impart a dynamic character to the agricultural activity. And now let's move on to the impact of agriculture.
Here are some impacts of agriculture. First is the impact of agriculture on environment. Agriculture can have significant impacts on the environment, while negative impacts are serious and can include pollution and degradation of soil, water, and air. Agriculture can also positively impact the environment, for instance by trapping greenhouse gases within crops and soils or mitigating flood risk through the adoption of certain farming practices. According to OECD Home, The OECD monitors the linkages between the environment and agriculture, identifies successful agricultural policies that mitigate the negative environmental impacts while enhancing the positive ones, and provides recommendations to improve policy coherence for environmental performance of the agricultural sector. In addition, the twin policy challenge of ensuring global food security for a growing population while improving environmental performance will require raising the environmental and resource productivity of agriculture, enhancing land management practices, minimizing pollution discharges, curtailing damage to biodiversity, and strengthening policies that avoid the use of production and input subsidies which tend to damage the environment. The second one impact is the impact of agriculture to economic. Agriculture modernization prepares conditions for industrialization by boosting labor productivity, increasing agricultural surplus to accumulate capital, and increasing foreign exchange via exports. Modernization also helps achieve humanitarian goals by raising incomes and productivity of poor farmers, lowering food prices, and improving nutrition. Indeed, modernizing agriculture can improve human capital by better nourishing the population and avoiding far-reaching debilitative outcomes of malnutrition such as child stunting.
And now let's move on to the causes and impacts of soil erosion. First, let us define the soil. The soil is the top layer of the Earth's surface. It is made up of dirt and rock. It is filled with air and life. A variety of organisms like insects, earthworms live in soil. For plants, soil serves as a storehouse of water and minerals needed for their growth. It also provides shelter to many animals that live on or in the soil. Without soil, there would be no grass, no crops, no trees, no food for us and other animals. Next is soil erosion. It is a process in which the top fertile layer of soil is lost due to soil erosion. The soil becomes less fertile. The top layer of soil is very light, which is easily carried away by wind and water. The removal of topsoil by the natural forces is known as soil erosion. Causes of soil erosion. Various agents like wind, water, deforestation, overgrazing by cattle, etc. cause soil erosion. The various factors of soil erosion are: number 1, wind. When strong winds blow, the topsoil along with the organic matter is carried away by the wind. This happens more often when the land is not covered with grass or plants. Such conditions are very common in desert and semi-desert regions where strong winds blow very frequently. Next is water. When it rains in the hilly areas, the soil gets washed away towards the plains. The running water deposits the mineral-rich soil in the riverbed, and over the years, this disposition of soil can change the course of the river. This can lead to floods which cause the destruction of life and property. Water erosion leads to loss of agriculture potential. The last one is deforestation. Without plant cover, erosion can occur and sweep the land into rivers. The agricultural plants that often replace the trees cannot hold onto the soil, and many of these plants, such as coffee, cotton, palm oil, soybean, and wheat, can actually worsen soil erosion. And as land loses its fertile soil, agricultural producers move on, clear more forest, and continue the cycle of soil loss. Consequences of soil erosion. To sum it up, soil erosion affects soil health and productivity by removing the highly fertile topsoil and exposing the remaining soil. Soil erosion decreases agricultural productivity, degrades ecosystem functions, amplify hydrogeological risks such as landslides or floods, causes significant losses in biodiversity, damage to urban infrastructure, and, in severe cases, leads to displacement of human population. In agriculture, we estimate that soil erosion can lead up to 50% loss in crop yields. Although soil erosion has a direct impact on farmers, it also has effects outside of agriculture. For example, sediments associated with soil particles displaced by wind and water can lead to off-site soil and water pollution. Soil erosion affects us all. Soil erosion and land degradation pose a major threat to global food security and to the achievement of the Sustainable Development Goals, compromising the well-being of at least 3.2 billion people around the world. Next is managing soil erosion.
The majority fall into one of the three categories. First is structural measures like bands and stone walls. Second is seedlings measures like wooden bricks and live hedges. Third is combined or integrated measures like riverbank stabilization.
And now, let's move on to the last part of our reporting, which is sustainable agriculture.
Sustainable agriculture. Agriculture often places significant pressure on natural resources and the environment. Sustainable agricultural practices are intended to protect the environment, expand the Earth's natural resources base, and maintain and improve soil fertility based on a multi-pronged goal. Sustainable agriculture seeks to increase profitable farm income, promote environmental stewardship, exchange quality of life for farm families and communities, increase production for human food and fiber needs. Importance of sustainable agriculture. Sustainable agriculture frequently encompasses a wide range of production practices including conventional and organic. A regionally integrated system of plant and animal production practices are designed to produce long-term results such as production and sufficient human food, feed, fiber, and fuel to meet the needs of a sharply increasing population. Protection of the environment and expansion of the natural resources supplied. Sustainment of the economic viability of agricultural system.